What's up guys, and welcome to a new video. So today this will be the final build guide for my level 100 Necromancer. I did end up killing Uber Lilith with this build. It's been a really fun build overall. Fast playstyle that does tons and tons of damage. I mean, you could do between 40 and 60 million damage per hit with this build, so that just shows how strong this build actually is. In the guide today we will cover the gear options and the aspects that we use on the gear and where we put the aspects, the summons choices, skill tree, and the Paragon board. At the end of the video you guys will be supplied with the entire Uber Lilith kill if you want to check that out, and then I'll also have some dungeon gameplay if you want to check that out also. This build guys has just been super solid and fun and strong. I've got a lot of good feedback from you guys in the previous videos of this build and I really appreciate it. So like I said, here's the final one for you guys if you want to check it out. I would recommend this build, especially if you want to get Uber Lilith done and over with and just kill her and get that, you know, checked off on your list. Definitely take this build into consideration. If you guys end up enjoying the video though, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I'm getting real close to that 5,000 sub mark, and if you can help me hit that, I'd really appreciate that. Anyways guys, let's jump right in. Alright, briefly we'll go into the skills that we use on the build. They haven't changed from the other videos. I will go over them real quick again. Bone Splinters, at this point I'm just using this if I need to generate essence. Really, I don't ever use it hardly. I think on Uber Lilith I used it a few times, but other than that, especially like in dungeons and stuff, I don't use this. Bone Spear, our bread and butter, huge damage dealer. Blood Mist, this is a get out of jail free card. We get crowd controlled, we're in a bad tight spot, hit this, we go immune for a few seconds. Corpse Explosion, because of nodes in our Paragon board, we get a lot of damage from this, as well as we get essence back every time we use it. Corpse Tendrils, this, because of an aspect that we have, gives us a ton of damage, and then on top of that, it draws all of the enemies into a pack, stuns them, makes them vulnerable, just great overall. And then Bone Storm, this is for 15% damage reduction, and also we get 20% to our base crit chance. I don't use it that often, sometimes I do. If you're lacking on your overall crit chance, if you're not capped, you can use this though. Gives you an extra 20%, which is a nice boost. Alright guys, now into the gear that we're using on the build. Real quick disclaimer, I think the biggest tick that I had on Lilith was between 10 and 12 million, and that's for one shard, and you put out 5 shards with this build, so this build can do insane amounts of damage, and I will, after showing you the gear, show you how you can pull like the most damage as possible out of this build. So into the helm, we still got the same Deathless Visage. This goes along nice, gives you a ton of essence, ton of damage, really good for the build. And then you can see right there, Bone Spear leaves behind echoes as it travels, dealing 1300 damage. These like 3 little echoes down the path that you shoot. Kind of helps with clear, whatever. Into the chest now. On my chest, I like my chest. It's pretty nice. We got intelligence. That's for damage on the build. You know, obviously this build gains damage from intelligence, so we want to try to get as much intelligence anywhere we can. We have total armor, which is great. Damage reduction from close and maximum life. And then we also have the disobedience aspect that you want to go with. That gives you 0.50% increased armor for 4 seconds, and it stacks up to 50%, which is really nice. So we definitely want to go with that aspect. Down here into the gloves. Now this is one piece. I have pretty nice gloves right here. They have really good stats overall. You want to get the 4 rings to Bone Spear. You want to get the lucky hit up to a 5% chance to restore, you know, your primary resource. That's actually really important. It helps you a lot, along with the aspect you'll end up with on your ring. You have like unlimited resources pretty much. Then you want to get as high of a crit chance as you can. On the gloves for the aspect, you want to put the aspect of Serration on there. As you can see right there, the Ossified Essence key passive also increases the critical strike damage of your bone skills by 1% per essence above 50. I have a 35 roll, so up to 35%, which is really nice. Now also guys, as you can see down here, this pair of gloves. Now this would be optimum. I couldn't find another aspect of Serration, or else I would have switched these gloves. I had them ready to go, as you can see. Now these are pretty much the same, but they give 4 rings to Bone Spear. They give the restore primary resource on lucky hit. Now the one thing that did change is, instead of the up here you can see I have the critical strike damage with bone skills. Instead of that, I went for more lucky hit chance. That's what you want to look for. This is the optimum pair of gloves, and this had a higher roll on the overall base lucky hit or critical strike chance. So overall, this is what you would want to look for if you can find them, and then also get the aspect of Serration on those. Down here into the pants. Now in the pants, I went for damage reduction, intelligence, more damage. These are actually really nice pants. If only the life roll was higher, they'd be like perfect. But You know, I got a ton of damage reduction, life roll, nice intelligence, and then on your pants, you want to get that barrier right there as your aspect. The aspect of the protector, it's actually in the Codex of Power. And if you imprint that at a high level from the Codex, you will get a high roll from it. So don't worry about finding this aspect on gear pieces or whatever. Just use it from your Codex of Power. Down here into your boots. Now, you want to try to get at least 3 to 4 ranks of corpse tendrils on your boots. It helps with the cooldown, which is really nice. You want to get as much movement speed as possible, and you want to go for the essence cost reduction. Now, there is a way that you're going to make this build where you will be able to fortify if you wanted to, and that helps with your fortify generation right there, also 29%, which is nice when you're running it that way if you want to run like higher tier nightmare dungeons, which we'll go over that version of the build when we get into the Paragon board. But definitely go for the essence cost reduction, the ranks to corpse tendrils, and the movement speed for sure. And then for the imprint down there, you actually want to try to get this. In my opinion, this is the best imprint for this build because this build lacks a little bit of movement speed. And right here, as you can see, we're always crit striking, and it grants 16% movement speed for 1 second, up to 6 seconds per crit strike. So, you know, it helps you zoom around the map or the nightmare dungeons or whatever the case is a lot more. Down here into the weapon. Now, this is kind of important. With the weapon, you want to go for the highest base damage that you can possibly find. If you can find like an 820 item power sword with a really high damage, and you do want to go with the two-handed sword also, so you get the implicit of the critical strike damage up here, the 52.5%. You want that implicit, so go for the two-hander. It'll be overall the most damage that you get. And then you want to try to get the exact additive damages that I have right there: the intelligence, the core skill, critical strike damage, and the vulnerable. Really important. We don't have a lot of vulnerable damage in this build, so we want to get at any spots that we can and get as much of it as we possibly can. Now for the aspect, right here at the aspect, you want to get the splintering aspect. I have a perfect roll on it. You know, basically it makes enemies vulnerable, and it makes it to where each one of my bone shards does 225% more damage, which is awesome. Huge. We definitely want to put that. I had it different in my other guides, but we definitely want to put it into our weapon now. Coming up into the amulet. On the amulet, you want to try to get movement speed. You see right there, I have 3 ranks to Evulsion. That's the best passive that you can get damage-wise. Gives you a huge multiplicative damage in our skill tree. We want to go for that. Definitely want to find essence cost reduction. Helps out a lot. And then, you know, I had willpower on this. This is the best ammi that I could find. Be a lot better if that was willpower or, you know, more damage mod or whatever. But whatever you can find right there will be awesome. Or even cooldown reduction will be good. Now, the imprint on this one is really important too. You want to get the imprint of Grasping Veins. Now, you see I gain 27% base crit chance for 6 seconds after casting Corpse Tendrils, and then also 81% multiplicative bonus critical strike damage. That is massive. You do so much more damage because of this aspect right here. It's really important. Also, guys, you know, I didn't have a perfect roll. I could not find one. I got 27% and 81%. It goes up to 30 and 90. You definitely want to try for that 30 and 90 because that is a lot more damage overall. Like if I would have got that, I'd be doing even more damage, and that would have been great. Down here into the rings. Now these rings right here are the rings that I killed Lilith with. I'll show you down here the other rings sometimes that I run nightmare dungeons with. They're a little bit more defensive, but up here you can see on this one, crit damage, vulnerable damage, physical damage, critical strike chance. You definitely on your first ring want to try to get the Edge Master's aspect and a 20% roll on that if you can. Really important. Right here, you want to try to get exposed flesh. Now, or the aspect of exposed flesh. We'll go over that first. With the aspect of exposed flesh, it's actually a really hard aspect to find. A lot of people say, I've heard people say that even by a level 100, they haven't found it. I've found 2 perfect rolls. There's one right here on this ring. Then if you look down here, I have a perfect roll on this ring. In the aspects, I have another one right here. And then I have a 36 on another ring in my stash also. So I have found this aspect 4 times. Now I think people that are not finding this aspect are leveling like in groups, doing like speed leveling, not really running nightmare dungeons. For me, 99.9% of my leveling has been solo in nightmare dungeons, and I've had no problem finding this aspect. Gamble rings at Helltides, go to the chests where you could get rings and run nightmare dungeons, and I guarantee at some point soon enough you will find this aspect. Before level 80 I had already found it twice, so you're definitely going to find this aspect. Anyways, back into the rings though. Now, because of ossified essence in our skill tree, we gain a lot of damage from how much essence we have. You want to try to get, now I did the Lilith fight without any essence on my first ring. You want to try to get essence on your first ring. On this ring I would actually replace the critical strike damage for essence if possible. You can get another 18 essence right here. And then also I would have had this 18 essence right here. If I would have had that, a better roll up here, more damage on a little bit more damage on my sword. And then also if I would have had the elixir of resourcefulness, which gives us another 50 maximum essence, that would have bumped my essence to around 300 or more, which would have been huge. I would have done a lot more damage. I mean, I'm telling you, I think that there's a possibility for this build to do up to 20 million damage per shard, and there's 5 of them. I mean, you could be hitting for 100 million, no joke. So that, you know, the sky is the limit if you can get like perfect gear, perfect rolls, and everything else. You definitely want to try to get this aspect onto your ring down here. Helps a ton. Now, if you cannot get this aspect, I would go, you know, in the Codex of Power, there's one that gives you essence regeneration. You could use a aspect that gives you essence per blood orb over your maximum life. I forget exactly how it works. And then you could use aspect of the Umbral. For every enemy that's crowd controlled, you get 4 essence back. There is ways to generate essence, but this overall is what you want to look for. I wouldn't attempt the Uber Lilith fight until you have a ring with this. I mean, it's probably possible, but this is going to make it a lot easier. It's proccing a lot. You know, down here you can see our Bone Spear has a primary, or I'm sorry, our primary skill of Bone Spear has a 50% lucky hit chance. Actually 52 for me because I have a little bit more. At base though it has 50%. We're proccing that pretty often. During the Uber Lilith fight, it's just proccing left and right as long as you're tagging her with everything. So you definitely want to try to go that route. If you go that route though, guys, you guys will be doing even more damage. I mean, the damage is just insane. But this build is awesome for taking down Uber Lilith, definitely. You want to try to look for those things on your gear pieces. Into the Book of the Dead. Now, we aren't going to use any summons, guys. Right here for the Skeleton Warriors, we're going to take the 5% crit chance, get rid of the Skirmishers. Into the Skeletal Mages. Right here, get rid of the Shadow Mages. Get yourself 15 more Essence. Turns into multiplicative damage. Awesome. Down here into the Golems, guys. Get rid of the Iron Golem. You deal 30% increased critical strike damage, but you lose the ability to summon a Golem. Now, don't forget, guys, that is multiplicative, so it's massive. That's a massive boost. Alright, guys, so now we will go into the skill tree. I'm going to make this real brief. I've covered this in my other videos. There is a couple things that have changed, so I'll go over those with you. Up here, now, Bone Splinters. We just use this for essence regeneration. I did use this a little bit against Uber Lilith, so I went back here into Acolyte's Bone Splinters, which, after hitting the same enemy 3 times with the same cast of Bone Splinters, you get 8% base crit strike chance. Just a little bit of additive, you know, if we needed it. Not super necessary, but come down here into your core skills. Now we're going to want to grab Unliving Energy, which gives you 9 maximum essence. We want to get as much essence as we possibly can. And Imperfectly Balanced. Your core skill costs 9% more essence, but you deal 15% increased damage, and that's multiplicative, so it's a huge boost. Bone Spear, obviously maxed out. Come back into Enhanced Bone Spear, and then Paranormal Bone Spear, give us 5% more base crit chance, and then also fires 2 more additional Bone Shards, which each one's doing in the millions of damage, so you want that. We're going to come down here and get Hewed Flesh. This is what creates our corpses. Awesome. You got to have this against Uber Lilith if you want to drop her really quickly, and just great all the way around. You know, on lucky hit, there's a 12% chance to create corpses. Right here, 1 into Blood Mist. Just our get out of jail free card, like I said. Tight spot, you hit this. If you're crowd controlled, you go immune. Over here, 1 into Corpse Explosion. This will basically generate essence for us right here, as you can see. And then also it gives us more damage right here. And in our Paragon board, a ton of damage. So overall, Corpse Explosion is going to give us tons of damage. A lot more than any curse build will. You will get way more damage out of Corpse Explosion. Now, real quick, before we go past the curses, which I don't use any of them, if you're going to run high Nightmare Dungeons, you could put like Decrepify or even Iron Maiden in the spot of your Bone Splinters if you wanted to. Like slow enemies, make them do less damage, whatever. You could mess around with the curses if you wanted to and use them. I don't use them at all, and I personally wouldn't, because I've run the build with Corpse Explosion so much and it does just perfectly fine. But you could incorporate those if you wanted to. I wouldn't suggest it, but that's on you. Over here, we're going to get Death's Reach. You deal 12% increased damage to distant enemies. We're always usually distant with Bone Spear, so we want to go with that. Now, Death's Embrace. This is something that we had before, and I got rid of it. Now, if you're running high Nightmare Dungeons, you might want to spec into this. You can do like 6% more damage, and the enemies will deal 9% less damage to you up close. So it's up to you what you're running. You could spec into that if you wanted to. Down here into Corpse Tendrils, you want to max this. You want to try to get as many ranks as you possibly can. You know, you could even get one more out of your boots to bring it to 9. Basically, it just brings the cooldown down for it. Now, you will see Enhanced Corpse Tendrils we want to come back into. And then I have Plagued Corpse Tendrils, which makes everything that you suck into a group vulnerable, or whoever's hit by this vulnerable. You don't have to take that. You could really get rid of both of these if you wanted to, but I take this. Now, I am going to show you a build of this where you could use something in the Paragon board, and you will have blood orbs, and you could fortify. This will be your your blood orb generation. You choose this if you want to go that route, or if you switch into that route. And it gives a 35% chance to drop blood orbs, which when you're pulling in big packs in those nightmare dungeons, you'll be dropping a lot of blood orbs. Down here, we're going to get Serration, huge for the build. I mean, you know, with the elixir and everything on our rings and everything said and done from our Paragon board, we end up having around like 300 essence. And this gives you 0.9%, almost a 1% chance per 10 essence towards your base crit, which, I mean, you had 300 essence, that'd give you what, like 27, 28% base crit. That's massive. So we definitely want to max that out. Go into Compound Fracture after critically striking 10 times, which are always crit striking, almost every hit. This will always be up pretty much. And then you deal 15% increased damage for 5 seconds, which is awesome. Down here, now we have rank 6 of this because we have 3 from our amulet. This is the best one we want to go with on our amulet. Your bone skills deal 36% increased critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. Because of our aspect, all enemies that we hit are vulnerable. So this is huge. Just a ton of damage. We want to go with that. Down into our ultimate skill, like we talked about before, we take Bone Storm, run it back for the 20% base crit and the damage reduction. And then we want to get standalone damage reduction, and then also Memento Mori increases our sacrifices by 60%. We come down here. This is a no-brainer. We want to get Ossified Essence. Your bone skills deal 1% increased damage for each point of essence you have above 50 upon cast. That's why when you go to Uber Lilith or whatever you're doing, you want to have as much essence as possible because it's all multiplicative damage, anything above 50. So it's just massive. That's what makes it to where you're able to do these incredible, crazy critical hit strikes at like 10 to 20 million per shard. It's just insane. So we definitely want to go with that. All right, guys, now we will jump into the Paragon board. So we're going to start down here. It hasn't really changed. I just kind of added to it from the last time. This is, you know, this board right here, guys, is my own setup. I didn't really follow anybody else's build guide or anything. I just went, you know, and did this on my own. This is what I pretty much figured out. We start down here. We're going to run up, grab Prime, Damage, Life. I'm just going to make it quick on this. And there will be a link in the description for this entire build if you want to check it out on the website. So that's up to you guys. But anyways, we're going to come up here in our starter board right here. We're going to have Sacrificial. Now, this is where we can get our fortification. You're running high nightmare dungeons. Now, Sacrificial is nice. You get the, with the additional bonus, you get 10% multiplicative increased damage because we have no minions, which is huge. And then we get a ton from the nodes up here on there also. Now, if you're going to run high nightmare dungeons and you want fortification, which will, you know, give you like a barrier, which is nice, more defensive, all you got to do is take Blood Drinker, switch that out, go to Corpse Tendrils, and switch over to the other thing to generate the Blood Orbs. That's all you got to do. And then look right here. For our additional bonus, Blood Orbs fortify you for 7% of your maximum life, 812. You know, suck back a few Blood Orbs and you're fortified. You got more defense. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put that back. But for the damage, you want Sacrificial right here. And for Uber Lilith, definitely Sacrificial. Come up here, we're going to go into Preservation, Armor, Intelligence, get these all around it. Right here, Knowledge, Damage, Intelligence. Going to get all this damage around here. We're going to come up. This is the first board you definitely want to go into. It's the Bone Graft board. With Bone Graft, obviously you can see you get damage and you get increased 24 more maximum essence. Awesome. Probably the either strongest or second strongest legendary that we have. And then, guys, we want to come up over here. And we'll get Entombed. Actually, I'm sorry. Before you do this or this, very first thing you want to come over into Reinvigorate over here. 16 to maximum essence. And you want to come up here and get this extra essence. We did have these before. 1 and 1 on kill. We dropped those. I don't really need them anymore. You could get them if you wanted to. But I dropped them. You do want the maximum essence for sure, though. Okay, so you get that. Then you'll come over here, get Entomb, 4% base crit, and then there's crit strike damage around here. And then you want to get Bone Graft. Come up here, we're going to get Calcified, crit damage, Bone Skill. I'm going to come up here, right here, you want to put Essence. We get 49 Dexterity and Radius. You want to make sure to get this to at least level 15. All of my glyphs are at level 21, actually. You want to do that as soon as you can for even more damage. But, you know, 97% critical strike damage with core skills right there. Massive. And then up here, we get Bone Skill damage, Intelligence, a bunch of damage around here. Now we will come up into the Scent of Death board. Scent of Death is huge. 2 corpses nearby, you get 15% damage reduction. With no corpses nearby, you get 15% multiplicative increased damage. Massive boost. We're going to come over here. We're going to grab Ruin and these nodes around it. We're going to come up here. Right here, you're going to put Imbiber. Imbiber gives us a ton of damage while healthy, which I think healthy is above like 80 or 85%. And you're pretty much always healthy. And that's 106.9% damage. That's a ton of base damage, which is awesome. So you want to get Imbiber up there. You can see for the additional bonus, it only gives you 30% increased push and healing. I mean, I guess that can help a lot, or a little, I mean. But anyways, come over here, get Preservation, Armor, Intelligence. Down here, we'll get Corrective, more crit chance. Now we're going to come over here, guys, into the Flesh Eater board. Flesh Eater, I think, is the #1 legendary node that we have on all of the boards. 40% multiplicative increased damage for 6 seconds after consuming 5 corpses. Just massive. And this also helps us burst Uber Lilith down. So definitely want to go into that. So we'll come up here first into Stifle. You know, we get that for the crit chance and damage to injured enemies. That can help with Lilith, you know, when she's down injured. I think injured's below like 35 or 30%, somewhere around there. Yeah, so Flesh Eater. And we're going to come over here. Right here, we're going to have Exploit. This glyph is massive too. Gives you a lot of vulnerable damage. Definitely want to have that. And we get 44 dex in this area. We put that there. Right here, we're going to get targeted for more damage to elites. And there's more damage to elites around. And dexterity, which is really nice. For the final board, we're going to come up into Blood Begets Blood. We're going to come over here, get the 10% damage. And there's more damage around it. Don't worry about the overpower. Right here, we got 12% damage while healthy, and then we're going to come all the way up here, guys, and we are going to get this glyphs right here. Gravekeeper. Basically, you deal 2% increased damage. This is when you have the additional bonus. 2% increased damage up to 12% for every close corpse. Really nice, more multiplicative damage. And then it also gives us some boosts up here and bonuses. You know, intelligence, which is damage. And then, now as you can see right here, 10% damage for 4 seconds after picking up a blood orb. Now, if we change to the version like I showed you that's using a bit of fortification with blood orbs, here's more damage. You know what I mean? Over into here, we get more damage with blood orbs. Up here, we get more damage with blood orbs. So, I mean, coming into this board, you know, works out for Gravekeeper, and it also gives us more damage with blood orbs if you wanted to go that route, running higher nightmare dungeons, building up the fortification. So that's all on you guys. Yeah, guys, I will go ahead and leave you with the Uber Lilith kill and some gameplay right here at the end. If this was helpful, guys, like I said, don't forget, I'm trying to hit 5,000 subs. I'm right there. If you can like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know if the build worked out for you, what you'd change, any questions, whatever the case may be. But hopefully this was helpful. There will be a link in the description over for this build on a website if you want to check it out that way. Thank you guys for watching.
I need more time.
Wouldn't have made it without you.
ready yet.